Recording. All right, so we're going to do Unit 8. In case you didn't hear me some other day, we have just 10 units altogether. So we're hurtling towards the end, which is awesome. And then we'll just practice, and get you guys ready for the AP test. Kind of build confidence. Today, we're learning two-dimensional arrays. In Java, these are actually arrays full of arrays, if you can imagine that. So we create them like this call here. You do two sets of the square brackets right after the variable type, and then you do a variable name and the word new after the equal sign, and then you say how big it's going to be. And this one I happen to say was 10 by 10. For a 10 by 10 grid, the index values go from 0 to 9 and 0 to 9, for rows and columns. And so when we're doing two-dimensional arrays, we talk about rows and columns. And Java, they just decided, so you don't ever have to wonder, Java is row major. That means the first of the two numbers is always talking about the row. And one way to remember which is the row and which is the column is actually, if you think about columns as things that go vertically to hold up buildings, then you can remember that columns are the up and down directions. Because row, you could be like, well, that's the first row, or that's the first row. But anyway, you'll get used to it. Rows are horizontal and columns are vertical. And as a side note, Java supports non-rectangular two-dimensional arrays, but our AP curriculum only requires that you know about rectangular arrays. Okay, so we use square brackets to access elements in a 2D array. And here's one way to visualize a 10 by 10 2D array. I've, no problem, Eli, go ahead. When you create it, what I have on the outer edge is the index values. So this is column 0, column 1, column 2, that sort of thing, row 0, row 1. And but when you create, it's just like a regular array. When you create a 2D array, if it's integers or doubles, they're all full of zeros. And if it's a Boolean two-dimensional array, they're all full of the word false, the value false. And if they're string or object data, they have each one has null in it until you put something in. So let's just say we did this command I did on the first screen, int 2D array nums equals new int 10, 10. Then we'd have this effectively in memory. And then if I made this call nums 3, 8, that's row 3, column 8. And so I left these outer numbers on here that they're not technically part of it, but it's helping us see what's up. That's row 3. So we go 0, 1, 2, 3, and then we go over 8 to item 8, which is really the 9th one over. So this command nums 3, 8 equals 7 sets this value that I circled here to 7. So the number, if you're given an array and you don't know how big it is, you can find out how big it is using nums.length. That's how many rows there are. And then to find out how many columns there are, you get the first row, or any row really, but you might as well do the first row and then get the length of that. Because as I said in the first slide, 2D arrays are actually arrays of arrays. So when you say nums.length, that's finding out how many rows there are. And then each row has an array in it. And so that's why to find out how many columns there are, you get the first row and then find out how long that is. So literally that's getting the first row and then that's seeing how many items are in that. And so if I ask you how many items are in the 2D array total, it's the number of rows times the number of columns. It's like a checkerboard, you'd say, oh, that's 8 by 8. Okay, that's 64 squares altogether. Well, here I give you at the bottom nums.length times nums0.length. That's you're getting the number of rows, the number of columns, multiply them together. That's how many items are in it altogether. Any questions so far? So you can also create 2D arrays using array initializers, just like you can do with regular one-dimensional arrays. So it looks like this. On the left, you do int, if you're doing an int array, and then say it's two-dimensional, give it a name, equal sign, and then this is like perhaps a helpful way to see what I'm talking about when I'm saying it's an array of arrays. See, each one of these sets of curly brackets would have been a normal one-dimensional array. So it's right, here's a one-dimensional array, here's a one-dimensional array, here's a one-dimensional array. And they're all inside another set of curly brackets, which is setting it up. So we have an array of arrays. And Java figures out the dimensions based on what you give it. So this thing right here makes a 3-row, 4-column array. And I put it in a little grid in a spreadsheet just so you could see, visualize what it feels like here. So wait till I ask you to, but I'd like you to hold up like 1, 2, 3, or 4 fingers to tell me what is the value in the spot 0, 1. So go for it. Be brave. I see some right answers. Good. You can put your hands down. The answer is 2 for this one. So remember, the first number is the rows. So the rows are 0, 1, or 2. And then the second number is the columns, and the columns are 0, 1, 2, or 3. Let's try this again. Hold up when you're ready, the number of fingers. Marquesa, yes. I want to say Aiden, no, but there's 6 Aidens. So George, yeah. Brian, yeah. Rishan, yeah. Ruby, thanks. Good. Gavin, yeah. Jackson, yeah. Marquesa, yeah. Logan, yeah. I don't see any wrong answers anymore. So you guys are all good. It's 3. Just figured this would be good to practice, like when you're not sitting there passively listening to me. So we're doing row 2, which is 0, 1, 2, and then column 1, which is 0, 1. So it's that one right there. Here's another one. Can you hold up your finger with what the correct value would be for this? Or shake your head back and forth, or say danger, Will Robinson, if perhaps this is out of bounds. Okay, yes, there's the ticket. I didn't want to lead you astray, so I just couldn't let it hang for too long. But if you said 3, 1, let's look 0, 1, 2, 3. You'd get array index out of bounds exception, and it wouldn't work. Please hold up. If I printed nums.length, what value would I get out? Yes, Jackson, thanks. Yes, Andre, thanks. Gavin Walsh, yep. Brian, that looks like 4 fingers. And that's not right. Alonzo, yeah, thanks. Yes, Logan, thanks. George, yeah, awesome. So the length, if we did nums.length, we're gonna get 3, because that's asking you how many rows. So if I did nums 0 length, that's asking how many columns. So we'll go ahead and just say 4. Because remember, when we made this array right here, we actually made 3 arrays that each have 4 items in it and stored them all in an array that has, these 3 things. So when we do nums.length, we get 3 because there's 3 arrays in there. And then each array is basically a row. And so if you wanted to get the number of columns, you get one of the rows. You could technically do nums1.length or nums2.length because we're going to always have rectangular arrays. But you might as well just do nums0.length. There's no need to. So let's hold up 2 fingers and tell me what you would do to get to the bottom right if we were trying to get that value. Thanks, Andres. Yes. Jackson, that's the first number. What's the second number? Yeah. Okay, I see. I saw a couple, no, there's no 4s in here, but it's 2 for the rows and 3 for the column. So remember 0, 1, 2. So row 2, I know it's awkward. And then column 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. You can just count it out, 0, 1, 2, 3. Just remember we start at 0. Hey, and check this out. 2D arrays I mentioned can be any data type. So for example, here I am creating a 5x20 frog array. What? But this command would create 100 frog spots. They would all be null. Like you couldn't hop them until you put a frog in each spot. Anyway, just want you to know you can do that. And then here's 2 different string arrays that are 2-dimensional. I created one called seating chart and just string 2D array, 2 sets of square brackets, and then the variable name equals new, and then you say string again, and then say what the dimensions are. That's a 5-row, 6-column seating chart. I was imagining like a seating chart in a classroom. And then I made another one called board, where I used an array initializer to throw out a tic-tac-toe board where I think X is winning, has won. Just, there you are. Any questions? That's it. It'll be fun to practice in just a moment. So what we're doing for the rest of today, 57 minutes to go, is day 59 practice 1, which is just has you do a bunch of different 2D array stuff. And then practice 2 is a frog 2D array. And let's see, I'm going to stop the recording.